So if Jim Harbaugh's gone, what happens with the Michigan head coaching job? Who are the names that would appear on the wish list, and who would get an interview, who would get a look, who might end up as the next head coach for the Michigan Wolverines if Jim Harbaugh does, in fact, go off to the NFL?
Urban Meyer.
Oh, please.
You got to give him a call if you're Michigan. That's who you need.
What if Bill O'Brien gets rehomed at Michigan?
Oh. Jimmy Sexton is like a wizard if that happens. I mean, just
he
wow.
is. I mean,
he is a wizard.
Magic. Yeah.
There's no way that Bill O'Brien's getting that job. Here's one that I would call, and I think you got to make him say no. Luke Fickell.
See, I was thinking that too. Like when this was starting and we were trying to just figure out like a coaching candidate list, I was like, man, do you think Luke Fickell's saying to himself, shit, I jumped a couple weeks early?
There's a lot. I mean, there are so many examples of that throughout all of the coaching carousels throughout time.
Instead of Cincinnati.
So is Matt Campbell because there was a time when we were like photoshopping Matt Campbell in maize and blue, right? I mean, there was a period where Jim Harbaugh was entering the 2021 season after taking a pay cut on a potential hot seat. Iowa State flying higher than it's ever been in its program history. And we were like, if Michigan's open, Matt Campbell's the name. After finishing last in the Big 12, though, just a couple of points away from not, is Matt Campbell's stock price too low for that to happen?
No. I think Matt Campbell still be a name in the mix. Also, but going back to Fickell, I don't think Fickell would take the Michigan job, honestly. I think that there's just too much Ohio State, Michigan there for him to really do it. But I think Campbell would definitely be a name on the list. I know that they're coming off of a down year, but he still ticks a lot of boxes for what they want as far as experience, Power 5 head coaching. You'd have to surround him, with some recruiters, because at Michigan, you can't really recruit the same way they've been recruiting at Iowa State. Like, you could be a developmental program, but it'd be nicer to develop 5 and 4 stars instead of 3 stars. Another name I think is somebody that could be in the list. I don't know how Michigan fans would feel about it. PJ Fleck.
Totally.
Danny, why'd you screw your face like that?
I don't know. I was surprised Bud was nodding in approval.
No, I mean, he's gimmicky, right?
Yes, but I think the results.
He would right. Like, he consistently wins. I think he would dial back the gimmicks some, or at least alter them to fit what you do at Michigan. And at the beginning, Harbaugh was gimmicky as hell.
Harbaugh was sleeping over
drinking milk, sleepovers, ripping his shirt off. They did signing with the stars. It was like that. They took the team to Rome. They covered spring at IMG, right? Like they took their spring camp to IMG. Michigan was gimmick you for like the first 2 years under Harbaugh. Like, they did everything to get attention. I don't know why PJ Fleck couldn't work there. I mean, he would have to change some of the things he does, right? You can't sell this underdog stuff repeatedly to Michigan fans, like to Michigan players and Michigan fans, because if you're doing it right, are bringing in top 10 classes and have elite players. I think he could work there for sure.
And the offense he runs is closer to Bo Schembechler's than the one Harbaugh's been running.
Who is the don't you think this would be almost, I mean, and the names we're talking about, who is going to wow Michigan fans? Because they view themselves as, we are above. We need a hire. When we look at the Michigan men mantra, that's why I was trying to think back. Is there another Michigan guy? I don't know.
I think if you poll the fan base, the most popular name among, like the guy who maybe not win the majority, but the plurality would be Sharon Moore, the offensive line coach, because he's a Michigan man and they would rather promote from within. He's been an excellent recruiter. And I do think if Jim Harbaugh leaves, because Harbaugh has said he thinks Sharon Moore is ready to be a head coach, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Moore does end up being the Michigan coach if Harbaugh leaves.
Yeah. I'll throw one more out to you. Mark Stoops. He's a Midwestern guy. He wins all the time at Kentucky. He has a really good proven track record of hiring people. Now, he did kind of, last year's OC hire didn't work out, but I mean, for the most part, good at replacing coaches, a proven winner. There's some upside to be had there. And I think very little downside overall. Like, the guy wins.
And also, the OC hire doesn't work out. So what does he do? He doesn't give him a second year. He's like, all right, we're going to get another OC in here. That's always nice. Other names, I think that maybe, I think Dave Doran is somebody who would be considered for this job. He's spent a lot of time in the Big Ten already. We've seen what he's done at NC State. Maybe he's getting kind of itchy to leave. And then another one, you went from a guy who's not exactly the most social, friendliest person in the world. What if you went and got yourself a nice guy? What if you went and got Shane Beamer?
Ooh. Given how their transfer portal is shaping up in Columbia, if Beamer wanted to jump, now would be a really smart time to do it, I think.
Saying he's a recruiter, he's energetic, he's had some success there at South Carolina really quickly.
So you mentioned the Michigan fans. Help me remember, when Brady Hoke was hired, was that a wow? Rich Rod obviously was at the peak of his powers coming off West Virginia, but for the most part, we haven't had a lot of times where the head
Jim Harbaugh is the only wow hire they've ever had.
Okay.
You got to think when Lloyd Carr and Bo and those guys took that job, it's very different sport, very different kind of, atmosphere around it. I think Rich Rod was a surprise. I don't know if it was a wow.
Michael in the chat, I thought, had a great suggestion. Could Elko parlay his first successful year at Duke into a Michigan job? I don't know if that's the case, but I think he'd be a great fit. Ivy League background, been with success at Duke. I think it'd be a great fit. I don't know if it would wow Michigan fans, but I think it'd be a good suggestion.
Another name from the chat that was pretty popular would be Kansas State's Chris Kleiman.
Mm-hmm.
Got to think that stock price is about as high as it's going to be. If you're going to introduce Chris Kleiman as your next head coach, it's nice after they are coming off a Big 12 championship. But, oh yeah, go ahead.
Are we sure that Rich Rod wasn't a wow hire? They did beat out Alabama for him, right?
I thought it was a wow hire.
Rich Rod's wife didn't want to go to Tuscaloosa.
It was splashy.
It was
definitely splashy.
That's what I'm saying, because he had West Virginia as a top 3 team. He was riding really high, and offensive innovator, all those things were kind of coming with him.
I'm basing this off of my own anecdotal evidence of the Michigan fans I was friends with at the time, who were just kind of like, huh? So,
again, the job doesn't change hands too often. It's not like they've got, they're not like the Tennessee fans out there who've got a lot of examples that they can compare themselves to, both good and bad. Hey, let's power rank our last 5 hires. We only have to go back 12 years.
Speaking of Tennessee fans, Tennessee fan in the chat, Jordan Mayton, who is our producer, Dave Aranda.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah,
after this year, I think it'd be good hire. I just, again, is he cooled off somewhat?
He's had 2 losing years and 3 at Baylor. I don't know if that's a fair way to put it, but you got to sell it. And 2 of his 3 seasons have been losing seasons.
I would say on the Dave Doran thing, just circle back on that. If he didn't get Nebraska and he didn't get Wisconsin, and I do think he wanted those jobs, I don't think he's going to get Michigan. Michigan's great because you make a bank, you make bank, but you don't really have national title expectations. The expectations are largely compete with Ohio State. When Michigan fans lose,
expectations are more about graduation rates,
right?
Scandal free,
Since you went to non-leather helmets, Michigan has one shared national title. They don't have the same level of expectations administratively. Maybe some of the awesome fans that watch our show do. Their administration does not have Ohio State level expectations. So you're going to make a lot of money, and you can coach there for a long, long time. That's kind of what makes this a really good job.
You think you can coach there a long time and not win championships?
Yes. I do. If Jim Harbaugh,
Lloyd Carr never won.
Yeah, he won in '96.
Lloyd Carr did.
Didn't they just churn through Brady Hoke and Rich Rodriguez? Didn't they churn through them?
Yeah, but
they weren't winning.
They weren't winning the Big Ten. If you're winning the Big Ten and competing for the Big Ten, you can be at Michigan for a very long time.
Right, but that's not easy to do, to go past Ohio State every single year and Penn State.
No, it's not. It's not. It's never going to be easy to do it. But if you're doing it, that's why you're going to be there forever. If you're not,
Big Ten,
you're going to get the hell
10
out.
years and coach here 10 years. I think so.
I don't know. I thought you guys made it sound like you could coast to 8 or 9 win seasons every year, and you're just everybody's going to be happy.
With that non-conference schedule, if you don't win at least 8 games, that's an embarrassment. They don't play anybody.
Here's the other thing: the playoff is going to change the calculus in all of this, because the way we grew up, our age group, I mean, I know like I sound like an old man when I say the national title is not the most important thing to me. The national title did not really become an important thing until television really got involved and created the BCS in 1998 and made it the most important thing. For 100 years, nobody really gave a crap about winning a national title. If you got voted by number 1 in the poll, awesome. We're going to put it on our recruiting thing, but we really care about beating our rival and winning our conference. Now that the playoff is becoming more of a thing, maybe winning the Big Ten won't be enough.
Got to get into that playoff. And by the way, Jim Harbaugh has lost 6 straight games in the postseason.
And they aren't firing him anytime soon.
And they've never had a lead in a postseason game.
Oh,
in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's just 2. I mean,
Sorry,
not
yeah.
Wait,
did they have the lead in the Orange Bowl in 2016?
Did they go 3-0? Oh, you're going 20.
When they played Florida State?
Yeah.
I remember that being a back and forth game. I don't have it.
Yeah, it was back and forth. I'm trying to think if they ever actually took the lead.
I just remember Renegade fell down in the pregame.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were definitely. I thought Florida State was going to get blown out. I'm like, this is a bad omen.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I was covering it. I had video, like my cell phone, posted it. It's like, oh, this isn't good.
Well, I know that was more showing
some anonymous, because I was pretty hard on who was the Michigan defense that sat out the game. I forget. Who it was.
Jabril Peppers. Remember
Jabril
this?
Peppers.
The broadcast
harsh
could
on him
shut
not
up about
playing.
Jabril Peppers.
And
yeah,
some Michigan number that said he knew me and knew Jabril Peppers was irate at me, like texting me really angry messages. How can you disparage this young man and all this stuff? And it's like, all right, whatever. I talked to a couple players on the team that said he could have played. Like, yeah. And it was like now, and it's what's crazy is
6
now
years later,
it would
it's
be
like,
a non-story. Like,
Yeah.
yes, no. Like, I think the coach was mad it was gonna hurt his draft stock. You know, that was the big thing. You're gonna kill his reputation. Now it's like
Now he might have missed the whole season.
and
Yeah.
Michigan fans pretend like he would have like hawked down Dalvin Cook. I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I think we see how that played out.
Yeah,
Right.
Renegade falling down was more an omen to the end of the era. It's like it's been a
Yeah.
nice run.
that is true. That's a good point. I never thought about that.
It's wrapping up right now.
Putting it out to stud.
Is there anybody we're missing here that we like outside the box type stuff?
So everyone we've given, except for the in-house coordinator, is that they're not going to hire a coordinator from like Jim Leonard or somebody like a name that's a hot, offensive. They're not going to go that route, are they?
I mean, it depends. It's like if it's going to be, I feel like this is, I don't even think this is just a Michigan thing. I think this is a Big Ten SEC thing. If you are going to hire a coordinator, it has to be a coordinator from one of the playoff teams because the salaries that the SEC and the Big Ten have to pay their head coach now to be competitive or at least be within line with the rest of the conference. You can't really go for the young up and comer who was making $400,000 as an offensive coordinator somewhere. You know what I mean? You have to go with the guy who's already getting close to 7 figures at his current job.
One last one to throw out from a school that wants to get in the Big Ten to a school that is in the Big Ten. Do you look at Dan Lanning?
Yeah.
Like he was the hot coordinator last year. He killed it this year at Oregon. They're recruiting really well.
But my concern there is like, I think Dan Lanning's a very good coach. I think he would bring the recruiting aspect to it. It's just, can you do at Michigan what you were doing at Georgia and what you're currently doing at Oregon? I don't think you can.
Now watch Jim Harbaugh at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time come out with a statement. Whatever.
Angry statement.
And all the fake news media that were just like writing him off, especially that Cover 3 podcast.
Again, I would like to reiterate that I think Jim Harbaugh will still be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines next season.